Hi everyone, it's Brittany here, and I have something I want to share with you guys about cutting your own stencils. So I cut a bunch today, and I just kind of wanted to show you guys how I do it and how they turn out and stuff like that. And then at the end I'll tell you guys what settings I cut them at. So first I'm going to show you some that I cut today, and these are all files from the Silhouette Studio. Everything is 50% off right now, so I kind of took advantage of that, and I cut a whole bunch of stencils today. And I also want to mention that this is a great way to save money. You can buy stencil blanks for about $3.99 for a large pack of them, and you get so many out of there. I can't even tell you guys how many I've cut, and I still have more material left. So yeah, I'm just gonna start there, and I'll show you guys the ones that I cut. So here's one. And this is just a bunch of different circles, and I love the way this turned out. And actually, since that one was an off shape, I have the background that was left from cutting it. And I think I might even keep that just because it's kind of a cool, cool thing. And one of the other cool things about cutting your own stencils is you could keep all these extra parts. So if you wanted to keep like the inner circles and spray outside, you know, you can do layering and stuff like that. So you can have both the positive and negatives of the stencil, which I think is really cool. And I must say, like, I am always impressed with my Silhouette. The way that it cuts and the fine detail is just amazing. So here you can see these tiny little holes, and it just cuts them perfect. So there's another one I did, and these are all about 6 inches. That's the size I use the most. So here's another one, and again you can see like the fine detail in the stems here and the flourishes, just super fine, great detail. And then here's another one that I cut, and this one was actually supposed to be a little bit different. Like this flower here, you can see has the flower on the inside, and these ones actually had that as well, but since there's nothing to hold them in, you know, it cut those out too, which is fine. And I still like it. I love this stencil. And then this one here is probably my favorite. I love it, and it was so detailed, and just, like I said, I'm amazed that it cuts this so well. So there's that one. And then I do want to mention, I don't have any more that isn't peeled off, but when you get your stencils, just check. Mine you can see are glossy right now, so you can see the super shine when it hits the light. And when you get them, they're not as glossy because mine have, I talked to Tina and she said hers didn't have it. Here's a big piece I had just pulled off. But it has this on top of it, and it's hard to see because it's like when you get something that has a mirror, it has that little film. So that's like this, and you just peel it off, and it'll cut a lot better because with this, it's harder to cut through. I actually started one here, and I had forgot to peel it, so I can actually show you guys. You can see it's still glossy, but you can see the bubbles and stuff. So if you just take like your craft pick, and you can, sometimes you can find the edge, sometimes you just have to make a little bubble. I don't know if you guys can see that very well, but I just lift it up, and then you can peel it off, and then it will cut a lot better. Like this one just didn't cut through all the way because I didn't remove it, and it still may if you adjust your settings, but I prefer to take it off anyways. So yeah, so that's that little tip, and then I'm going to show you guys what it looks like when I pull it out. So this one here, it got chewed up a little bit because I didn't tape the corner down, but I put it on my mat, and I do secure it with a little bit of washi tape, and now I will put a little bit more on the edges just because I see that this happened. But I'm going to show you guys how this works. So just secure it down, and when you pull it up, some of your design may stick to the mat and some may not. So you can see not much did for that, but that's okay. So here it is, and you can see, again, all the fine detail. But I'm just going to show you guys really quickly, and since I think I cut this a little bit, I didn't have my measurements right when I cut it, so I'm just going to snip this little edge here so that I can remove that. because I cut them all with just a little border. Most of them come with it anyways. But then you have this when you pull it out of your machine. And some of these, like, you can just grab and they'll pop right out. And this one's fairly intricate, so it may take a few more. But once you punch them out, they just come right out. Because they're already punched, but they're just wedged in there. Oops, sorry. You guys can't even see it. But yeah, it'll just come out right like that. And you can see it start to show up. And sometimes the spiral ones are a little bit trickier just because it's hard to tell what's coming out and what's not. And you do not want to be too rough with your stencil because you can bend it and you can kind of tear it if you're too rough with them. So that's just a little tip. And then what else I do, see these ones are a little bit harder here because it's like a spiral. Sorry for the bad lighting. I tried to do this earlier, but okay. So there is that part. And then sometimes when they're a little bit smaller, which I don't see any too small ones, I just use my craft pick and I will just go into one of the corners and you can see they'll just fall right out. I kind of rub my finger along the back in case they're stuck in one of the corners. But you can see how easy these come right out. And sometimes, you know, you can just put your craft pick in there and just move it with the stencil and it'll all pop right out. And sometimes, like I said, these spiral ones are a little bit more of a pain. I learned that with that circle one I did because there was some big spirals. But super easy. And I just thought this was a good tip because you can make any stencils that you want. You can trace things, you can do all of that. You can obviously buy from the Silhouette store. I just think it's awesome that you have, basically, you can make whatever you want, and it's super cheap. And one other thing worth mentioning is that you can cut these, if I wanted the same exact stencil, but I wanted it in a 12 by 12, you can do that too, which I think is awesome because you can kind of personalize your stencils to what you need. And I'm having a little bit of trouble with the spiral here. But just be assured that it works good. But sometimes, like I said, these ones are a little tricky. And for cut settings, so when you go into the Silhouette and you hit cut and you select your media, they do now have a select for stencil material. And I bent this one a little bit. But you just select stencil material. And for me, I like to move the blade up one. So when you do stencil material, it's going to tell you blade at 3. So I just moved the blade to 4 because it cuts all the way through for me. And like I said, these just pop right out. And there are some times with the more detailed ones, like the damask one, I really had to poke those out just because they're so intricate and so close together that it was better just to poke them out. But it's just such an awesome tool to have, and I love it because you can just make whatever you want. So sorry for all the repetitiveness, and I hope that this helped you guys to learn a little bit about making your own stencils. And thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great night.